Cuban Government Corruption by Anna Seplican. The Problem. Since 1902, when the Republic of Cuba was established, the country has been riddled with widespread corruption throughout multiple sectors in its government. It was believed that up until the 1950s, corruption throughout the country was rooted within its most powerful institutions due to high-ranking individuals in government and military having ties to drug trades and gambling. In 1959, the Communist Party of Cuba took over the government, which brought in new laws and high-ranking officials who were more subjected to corruption than ever before, as they had special privileges which were unavailable to typical citizens, allowing them to gain access to foreign goods and services as well as travel wherever. Important industries, such as the construction and transportation industry, foreign trade, wholesale trade, and retail trade, as well as education and banking, became 100% nationalized. The government has also taken control of 92% of the country's agriculture. This further escalated the problem as institutionalized corruption involving cronyism, government monopolies, and a lack of accountability when it came to these topics became prevalent. After decades of struggling to eliminate corruption, an effort by the government in 2005 was made when the Cuba Transition Project, also known as CTP, came into effect. Unfortunately, this project heavily relied on government transparency and accountability, which was deemed next to impossible to provide, as financial and budgetary information was hidden from the public. Moreover, petty crimes and corruption among citizens in Cuba was deemed higher than in other Latin American countries by a BBC investigation, which included taxi rates priced at 5 times the normal rate, government price lists being concealed, as well as shoe repair shop stations, charging rates considered to be immensely inflated. Today, Cuba continues to suffer from severe government corruption and maldistribution of services and goods. The Cuban government seemingly prosecutes important government officials and foreign businessmen who only undergo conviction after no longer being deemed friends of the current communist leader, Raul Castro. Foreign analysts and Cuban citizens alike question whether or not the island is even capable of existing without corruption due to the lack of alternative ways to obtain resources. The state owns the majority of production property, and the tough U.S. sanctions put in place in 1962 continue to reduce the money allocated to the government, which, in turn, obliges the prevalent rationing of goods. Self-employment has only recently been permitted. However, state-owned enterprises continue to skew the Cuban economy, and open market investments are next to impossible due to the trivial financial market. On top of these aspects, Cuba fails to separate the Communist Party from their judiciary system and the National Assembly, resulting in citizens being unable to control the appointment or removal of judges. Economic concepts related to the issue. Inflation. Due to a constant surge in demand for products and services in Cuba, the prices for these products and services have gone up, causing inflation in the economy. Direct relationship. A direct relationship in Cuba's corruption problem can be found when examining the increase in scarcity of resources, which increases the amount of petty crimes committed by citizens. Communism. Cuba's economy is a communist one, which means the government has ownership over the country's means of production. The stakeholders and how they respond to this issue. The stakeholders of the Cuban government would be the citizens of the country as well as the people in charge of the government. The citizens pay taxes and provide the land on which farming and resource production takes place. They depend heavily on the government supplying them with adequate resources, which are oftentimes not provided. The government, on the other hand, requires the taxes and labor of its citizens in order to keep the economy going and the country afloat. The self-interest of the government led to the decline in resources available to the citizens of Cuba. The corruption taking place among government and military members causes instability when it comes to a steady flow of money and resources. This causes conflict between the people of Cuba and the elite members of society due to widespread poverty and an increase in petty crimes. Recommended solutions. Promotion of transparency. In order to solve the problem of government corruption in Cuba, a promotion of transparency, along with access to basic government information, would be necessary. An example would include making financial and budgetary information available for citizens to access. This would promote public participation in the community, as citizens won't feel that their government is hiding information from them in an attempt to cover up corruption cases. This would also make it more difficult for corruption to occur in the first place, as patterns of incoherent financial records would cause suspicion and would enable an easier way to target government and military members who are corrupt. Getting rid of impunity. Another possible solution to Cuba's economic issues would be getting rid of impunity. Ensuring effective law enforcement is present throughout the country, as well as separating the judiciary system in order to have a fair manner of appointing and removing judges, would be the right step towards better holding corrupt officials responsible for their hurtful actions. This would also result in the development of a strong legal framework, which could allow citizens to feel as though they can trust their government when it comes to cracking down on corruption.